Y'all, I grew up in church. You got to be louder than that. Hello, everybody. Every year, when I feel the challenges of Washington bearing down on me, and especially this last year, which I think for a lot of us has been difficult and challenging, it is literally this CBC week where we see black leadership gather from all around the country, where we see people coming together who know from whence we've come, know the challenges which we have overcome. It is this weekend that for me is a profoundly powerful reminder that despite the challenges we may face, that we still have the capacity together collectively to overcome. And here's the story at a time when they're trying to erase our history. Here's the story at a time that they're trying to literally tear down from museum walls the truth about who we are and how far we've come. Here's the story, is that the African American struggle is deeply interwoven, inexorably tied to the larger story of America. And all of the great advances that our country has made, from labor rights to the medical sciences, from athletic accomplishments that have shocked the globe, all the way to education, civil rights, women's rights, you name it. African American leaders have been at the forefront of those accomplishments. And so, as you all know, this is a jam-packed weekend. And I have a feeling some of y'all be out late tonight. But we all, me and the other members of the CBC, which for 13 years I have watched grow and grow and grow in my time in Congress. I am very happy to say when I came to Washington, I was the only black member of the CBC that was a United States Senator. And now I got some company. From Angela Alsobrooks to Lisa Blunt Rochester, some Delaware and Marylanders in the house, to a brother who has more titles than the Newark Public Library, Reverend Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock. We now have the first ever black CBC Senate wing that is growing proud and strong and often very loud. Now, I want to tell you, this panel here to my right is extraordinary. These are trailblazers. These are people that are doing what black artists have done for centuries. They are creating, they are making forth a new reality, they are manifesting new possibilities, they are telling our stories, they are elevating in many ways not just their own careers, which I hope they will share with you, but they are elevating truly this nation and new digital platforms. They are people in many ways that are showing the way. But before I get to them, I want to be frank with you about why my team, of all the things we've done in the years that I have been a United States Senator, we have taken on issues from black maternal health to the state of the black economy, to even last year doing an extraordinary panel with black athletes talking about the challenges we still have with exploitation within college athletics. But this year, there wasn't even much of a discussion. We knew we wanted this panel and this subject, and I'll tell you why. There is not a person in here that has probably thought at some point that we have challenges, especially in the Democratic Party. This is a nonpartisan event, by the way. But that we have challenges, especially in the Democratic Party, with communicating. Okay. Come on now, y'all, I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm trying to have a family conversation. All right. I would go to black barbershops. Thank you for nobody quipping, why do you go to a barbershop, Cory? I really appreciate that. You all are generous and graceful. But I would go to black barbershops and I would often have that conversation with fellas who did not know all the accomplishments people like Warnock, Alsobrooks, and Blunt Rochester and I were doing alongside of people like Kamala Harris. They didn't know that some of the accomplishments we've done on black maternal health or for black farmers or on environmental justice issues. And a lot of people would tell me we have a communications problem. Now, I would fire back to people, I actually realized that. In fact, I went to the leader of the Senate Democrats, a man named Chuck Schumer, now it seems like years ago, and I said to him, we have a communications problem. But one of our problems that our panelists actually intimately understand is that right now, the majority of American voters get most of their news from their handheld devices.
Yes.
And when I did the analysis, because I believe in God we trust, but everybody else bring me data, when I did the analysis looking at the Democrats in the Senate versus the Republicans in the Senate, the Republicans were getting tens of millions of more online engagements than Democrats were. Many of my colleagues weren't even on the platforms that voters were showing up, particularly young voters. In the last presidential election, we saw entire platforms that lots of my colleagues often don't know of my age, things like Discord or gaming platforms. We weren't even showing up on those platforms. While some Republican leaders, like the current president, were showing up, paying influencers or engaged on those platforms. Let me give you all some of the numbers. I told my leader, Chuck Schumer, give me the job of the 47 Senate Democrats. Let me work with them. Let me actually teach them how to use some of these platforms. Let me encourage them to go on, because I knew that even some of my most admired friends who have 24-hour cable shows, I went to college with Rachel Maddow, but that some of these influencers, in their content that they publish, they get orders of magnitude more engagement than an online 24-hour cable show. And that unless our caucus was beginning to learn those skills, that they could actually create content themselves, not to have to go through a intermediary, but they could actually more commonly reach folks in the community. Because when I show up on the Shade Room, some of y'all are shaking your head. Like, why are you going on the Shade Room, Cory? But I know that folk in the barbershop might see me more than if I go and meet the press. That if you're trying to engage in our communities, you have to go to the platforms, and it's not just going to visiting a black church or going to black radio, which are still vital parts of our community, but it's getting on the platforms and engaging with a lot of the content creators and influencers that actually are trusted people within our community. Everybody here knows our history. Black radio in Washington, D.C., for example, helped to sustain a movement, informed us, inspired us, connected with us, helped us to heal during tough times, but also elevated us. Well, that's the role of the creators today. And so I took over that job in February. And in my first 7 months, Senate Democrats, I'm very proud to say, have quadrupled our online engagement, going from about 400,000 engagements a day when we began to 2 million engagements a day. Senate Democrats have now added 15 million new followers across platforms, outpacing Republicans significantly. In fact, I think they gained, and when we did that measure, about less than 1 million to our 15 million. I've often challenged my colleagues to remember that they themselves now have to view themselves as creators. And I'm proud of our collective effort to better engage with our constituents through where they actually receive the information. But to me, the most powerful thing is collaborations. It's working together. We know this in the African American community. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so today we're going to have a conversation about this exploding field that is so vital, I think, to the new world that's shaping as media, traditional media is being shattered. We call it the creator economy. You see more and more extraordinary people who are not yet household names, but are still known to millions. We see more and more extraordinary people using these platforms in powerful means. In addition to using these platforms to actually not just make a living, but as some of the folks up here, to actually hire other people. It is an extraordinary growing part of our economy, and it really represents the future. And so now I want to introduce these extraordinary people to my right before you right now. First person is Nia Sioux, who who first captured audiences on Dance Moms at age 9. She has grown into a multi-talented performer, actress, author, and advocate with over 15 million followers, but as we may talk about later, it's actually not even about the number of followers you have, because your videos and your posts can get many multiples of that. Alongside collabs with brands such as Starbucks, she's now releasing her second book, which I got a sneak peek on. It's coming out in November. It's called Bottom of the Pyramid, a memoir of resilience and self-discovery. Eni Popoola here is extraordinary. Kermit may have said it's not easy being green, but you were making it look extraordinary. She is online, and she is known as in Any Given Sunday. She is a beauty, fashion, and lifestyle Nigerian-American creator based in New Jersey's neighbor, some of you might know it as New York City. It is tough to be in the shadow of the Garden State. While pursuing her JD at Columbia Law School. Yes. Eni expanded her content to include accessibility beauty tips and tutorials. After graduating with honors and passing the New York bar, almost as great as the New Jersey bar, Eni transitioned into full-time content creation, continuing to build a diverse and engaging platform that blends fashion, beauty, and personal storytelling. But I am going to add to my remarks, she is about empowerment, and I love it. Next, we have Clark Peoples, a 24-year-old Atlanta native. Atlanta doesn't get that much love in this room. Okay, finally. And recent Columbia University graduate. She has gained a significant following on TikTok by vlogging her experiences as an Ivy League student living, working, and dating in New York City. Maybe we're going to talk about that too. Whether she's taking her audience on a day in her life or giving advice to other young women, Clark fearlessly tackles issues of social justice, higher education, and self-confidence through her empowering content. Go ahead. All right. Javoris, you're last but not least. Javoris and his daughter, Grayson, launched Gracies Corner. Some fans up in here. A beloved animated sing-along, never invited me to sing with you, I understand why, YouTube series featuring Gracie, an energetic and joyful black girl who sings and dances to educational and empowering songs. With over 5.3 million YouTube subscribers, and we're going to talk about YouTube. It's a tsunami growing that most people don't appreciate. 277 million views, Gracie's Corner continues to capture the hearts and inspire families across the nation. And so what I'd love to do is maybe start with the three extraordinary women here. Maybe we can go one to the next. And I just want to first sort of ask, what inspired you to begin sharing more of your life, to really making yourself vulnerable, opening yourself up on these digital platforms?
I guess I'll start. Hi, everyone. So I fell into creating content. I was a teacher. I taught 7th grade history in the greatest city in the best city, in New York City. And it was at a time where I needed a hobby. I needed something outside of work, and I needed something outside of preparing to go to law school. And so I just started sharing my outfits every Sunday after church service, and it was something that continued to grow through my community. I made the decision to share my life in the way I did once I started to realize that there was there was a group of people that were gaining inspiration just by virtue of me being a Black woman in law school and embracing not only that journey, but also embracing, fashion and beauty and makeup, and kind of putting out there that there's more to the image of being in law school than to just being in your books. That whatever it is, whether it's, whether you're pursuing higher education, whether you're starting your own business, that you don't have to sacrifice any part of your identity in the pursuit of more. And so realizing and coming across people who were saying, I didn't know anyone who was in law school, or I didn't know that law school could look like this, or I didn't know the journey to being a lawyer could also be something that I could pursue, really kept me going and made me emboldened to share that part of my experience and that part of my journey.
Now, I know if I told my parents when I was in law school that I'm going to pass the bar, but I'm not going to practice law, I'm going to be a creator, my mom would have probably looked at me like I had done something horribly, horribly embarrassing to the family. But for you, how was that experience sharing with your Nigerian parents?
Very valid question.
Yes.
I probably also would have looked at me sideways up until like the day before I decided to leave. I am blessed with the most supportive mother who knows me and knows me so well that she knows that I don't make decisions lightly. And also I was working at a large corporate law firm, and if you know anything about like those types of spaces, they can change you. They can make you not be your true self. And so I was becoming more anxious. I was becoming more irritable. I was becoming someone that my mom didn't want to be around. And so when I left, she was happy that she got me back, but she also understood that I don't make impulsive, irrational decisions. I'm a very strategic and meticulous person. And so if I felt like I was in a position where I could step away from that job, which kind of put me at a crossroads and gave me an ultimatum about whether or not I would continue content creation versus working at the firm, she knew that I was going to pursue something and I would be fine nonetheless. So that's just, a reminder for people who might have kids and you see a certain path for them, a certain path that they would go down, that, trust them, trust their judgment, and trust that they're making decisions that are going to serve them in the end and make them happy, which in turn should make you happy as well.
Amen. Amen. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think almost a bit of a similar journey. I posted a very random day in the life video. I think I probably had a private Instagram at the time. I wasn't big on social media, but it went viral immediately, like millions of views, and with millions of views come probably hundreds of like very crazy comments, and I was just like, this is not for me. I took the video down, and I remember my dad calling me and saying like, Clark, like I had friends from Facebook like sending me your TikTok, and they said they were so inspired by like you showing your day in the life, like you should put it back up. And I was like, Daddy, you don't get it. I'm starting a legal internship in 2 days. Like, I can't have crazy comments online, like people just trying to pick apart my life. And I was like, I'm just gonna leave it down. He's like, no, Clark, I'm your father. Put the video back up. And for once in my life, I was like, okay, Dad, I'll listen to you. And I put the video back up. And honestly, from there, I started talking more about my scholarship journey, being a student at Columbia, working in fashion law, which inspired a lot of other young Black women who didn't even realize that as like a space to be in, and sort of showing my internship and life in New York City and inspiring other people, which I can't even believe what it's turned into, but it's been a really incredible journey, and that's how it all started.
And that's, both of you have that in common with parents that give you the license in many ways, or the love necessary to take this risk with your lives. But I imagine what you're seeing now is what was maybe 15 years ago a very non-existent career path now is becoming more of an accepted one. Would you agree, Clark?
Oh, definitely. Oh my goodness. I remember I didn't even realize as someone, I graduated high school in 2019 and like definitely very, very, very Gen Z. I didn't even know people were making money from like TikTok until I think 2 weeks after my first video, I was like offered a brand deal, and I'm like, I'm paying rent for the first time in New York City. I'm just a student. Like, yes, for sure. And then from there, it just sort of took off, and I can't even believe how much money is there in that economy and in this industry, and it's a very viable job option.
And is that there are different ways of making money on platforms, and different platforms compensate their people in different ways. I would argue some unfairly and some more fairly. But the other way to make money is through sponsorships as well.
Yeah, so that's like essentially 100% of my income comes from sponsorships. From that, I don't make any money from different platforms. So yeah, but I mean, I'm sure with YouTube too, you'll be able to speak to that because I know YouTube is really where it's happening.
Right.
But yeah, it's amazing, all the different avenues, and just building a personal brand and being able to branch out and create your own like businesses and be able to promote that on your socials.
But your skill set, just before we go to the next one, your skill set that you're learning as a creator yourself, companies now are valuing that skill set. So you see a lot of the best creators, we don't know their name, but they're helping to create for the brands themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's like UGC content that a lot of people make that creators will create it, brands use it. And I remember working at David Yurman in their legal department, and so I would see just all the contracts and seeing what you're able to give to a creator who like does everything. I mean, we're the editors, we're the stylists, we're the hair, we're the makeup, everything. It's really spectacular, and it's such a difference. It's very, I think, more cohesive. There's not as many moving parts, and for brands, it is definitely more effective to leverage like someone's audience who they trust, and you can just send to this one person, here's our vision, get it done, and I don't know, it's really amazing.
It is truly amazing.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing. All right, my friend, you've been out there since you were 8 years old, I would say?
I was 9, yeah.
You were 9, okay. So tell us about your journey.
Yeah, for sure. I started Dance Moms when I was 9, but I got Instagram for the first time when I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. Instagram had pretty much just come out. And at first it was just for fun, just for family and friends. I was traveling so much, so I wanted my friends and family to see where I was, what I was doing. And then as time went on, I gained a following, and people who used to watch me every day, or not every week, on Dance Moms, I gained that following. And as time went on the show, I was painted in like a really negative light, hence the book, Bottom of the Pyramid. But I was painted in a way where I didn't see myself. And I wanted an outlet to share who I really was and what I was capable of. So I kind of used my platform that I had and created a community where people felt safe, where I could express myself, where I can show me dancing, how I really dance, show myself how I really feel. And it kind of just took off from there, really.
And it's extraordinary because I think that what all three of you show is that your main platform might be Instagram, for example, but you all are sort of multimedia professionals, that you don't just deal with one media form, but you're working across many different platforms, from print media, i.e. your book, all the way to doing other types of work creatively in this space. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I started on Instagram, but then I got a YouTube and I started posting on YouTube, and then I had like videos every Tuesday, and then I went to, it was Musical.ly first, so I was on Musical.ly for a while, and then it turned into TikTok, and yeah, it's been amazing.
So do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to stay adaptable. A new platform could come out next week that could be who even knows what, and our job is to stay on top of it, to stay relevant. And so if it's long form writing now, there's been a return to, writing on Substack, for example. Like, that's now a part of the conversation. So whatever it is, however we can reach people, it's our job to kind of think through that and to do it well.
Thank you. Now, I did not say Dr. Hollingsworth, which is what I should have probably addressed you as, and forgive me for that, but I am blown away by how you created this platform that parents are loving. Could you tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind Gracies Corner?
So similar to some of the others, I stumbled into it. So I was a chemistry professor, so I taught at FAMU for a while, then I transitioned to University of St. Thomas and actually had a tenure track position. And during the pandemic, that's when everything hit the fan. And I was teaching from at home, which was almost impossible, but teaching from at home, and my kids were doing school at home. So we would use resources like YouTube to kind of keep them occupied while you're teaching, having office hours, you name it. But seeing a lot of stuff that they were seeing, it really dawned on me, like, man, there really isn't much content out there that have children of color in the forefront. And for me, that was a big problem. because, if you're constantly consuming content to where you don't even see yourself in the picture, it started to raise doubts about yourself, and you question whether you belong, and you're trying to figure out how you fit into this picture. So we want to be proactive, and we just went ahead and created Gracies Corner ourselves. So the character Gracie is based on my daughter, and she is the voice and singer on the channel.
That's extraordinary.
Starstruck. I'm not even a parent, but as an auntie, I listen to it's always in the background. My nieces and nephews are like playing it 24/7. It's phenomenal.
And how has the experience been for your daughter?
It's been amazing. Honestly, I don't think she understands the gravity of it all. Like, I fangirl over certain moments, like for instance, doing songs with Snoop Dogg or Paul Wall or these different people that, that I thought was pretty dope. And going to these different award shows where we're being, recognized, and she just kind of like, like she's just there. So the only thing she really cares about now is like shopping.
And how has it changed your life?
Oh, it's changed my life tremendously because, again, I was in academia, so just, that was...
What was your area of academia?
Chemistry. Yeah, so I was fortunate to receive the Bill Gates scholarship, and with that scholarship...
Yes,
Oh, we have some
same.
more scholarships? Hey, all right. So with that scholarship, I was able to get, my undergraduate degree, master's degree, PhD, you name it. Took me to Beijing, China, like all over the place. But yeah, to go from that to like a full-time content creator has been crazy because that wasn't my intention. Kind of like you were saying, like you work so hard for this certain degree or whatever, and your life goes some completely different path. But it's been great to see because now the work is very different, but I'm still in a position now to do things that I probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
So I would love to dig into this because I think you all sort of mentioned it. As African Americans, you're probably having a different experience as a black creator, and you see the creator economy in general. But I wonder if you have any thoughts about the black creator economy that you might want to, observations that you might want to share with us. And anybody can jump in. You guys are also deferential.
Yeah, it's very different, in my opinion.
They're saying hold the microphone up.
Oh, sorry. It's very different in my opinion. With our content, a lot of times people tend to put us in a box as just a black, creator. But a lot of our content, it also resonate with people who come from different backgrounds. So it's usually tougher to kind of get that point across to some of the people who are either, giving you a licensing deal or doing some brand partnership. So just that's probably been the biggest thing for me, or noticing in comparison to my counterparts.
Any you going to add?
Yeah, I was going to say it is very difficult to grow as a black creator for a number of reasons. For some reason, like if you're not black, you can't see yourself in someone if they're black, right? And so it might be difficult for a non-black person to take your product recommendation or just to find content of yours that resonates with them, which is disappointing at times, but honestly not the end of the world to me, because I always say I'm going to be my authentic self, and in my content, I am making content and serving black women. It's great if other people can, find a place, something that they can latch onto, but I'm always going to be who I am, and I'm always going to see and serve black women through my content, because I believe if I don't do it, if we don't do it, right, no one else is going to do it. But sometimes that means, it's slower growth. Sometimes that means when you're looking for creators that have over 1 million, over 2 million followers on certain platforms, they're fewer and far between, or they're harder to come by, which then impacts, how much you might be making on a deal, right? If people don't understand that it might be a little bit more challenging for you to grow a platform, they might just see numbers and say well, then this is your rate, without realizing realizing how much like cultural capital that we hold, that even if you don't have millions of followers, that like you have a really, really tapped in audience base, and that you're setting the trends first, and that you're reaching people who like really, really trust your opinion and value what you have to say. So overall, I would say it's tough to grow as a Black creator, and there are plenty of creators that I know that I'm like, oh, like we get told this all the time, like, oh, I'm surprised you don't have this many followers, or like X, Y, and Z, like that type of thing. But for me, I just find so much joy in being specific with who I'm serving and letting that guide me through and through.
I agree. I wanted to add, I think, on the topic of opportunities, I don't know that a lot of people understand too, the scarcity of like creators with larger platforms is mirrored, I think, in a lot of the brands that we might work with. Like there are not a lot of Black women who are in these spaces putting us up for these deals. So it's like a twofold difficulty, because we're not getting pushed out to all the audiences, or they're not seeing us in themselves. And then in the brands, is very limited representation as well. And so definitely impacts the opportunities you get. It can definitely impact, people seeing your worth. But I agree. I feel like I've followed both of these ladies for years. The most authentic, like genuine women, and just we create the content for ourselves, being ourselves, and whoever that reaches, the success that we're supposed to have will find us.
I've seen that in more traditional circles. So, campaigns spend millions of dollars, but if there are no Black people on that campaign, they're not knowing that, wait a minute, here I should be doing partnerships with Black media to do that. And so you're saying that a lot of these larger corporations who don't necessarily understand the Black community, they undervalue your worth to them or potentially to their brand.
Yeah, and a lot of them just don't even know us. It's like we will never even come across their For You pages, which is very interesting, like the influencer marketing groups within larger corporations. And so, yeah, it's very difficult to get that visibility and get those opportunities if you are never even being seen.
Now, I feel like we're talking up here, but I just want folks to understand this, and maybe you can explain it to them, is a lot of folks who don't understand perhaps our communities, they're just going to look at their list. You have this many followers, this many engagements, and many of them will ask you for some of your behind-the-scenes data that your platforms collect in order to evaluate how much they're going to pay you. Is that generally how it works?
Yes.
Okay, and so we know from our communities going all the way back and to before, people like Madam C.J. Walker, it's the undervaluing of our communities, not recognizing the value that is there, and then you have these standouts who often show, wait a minute, there's tremendous value. And so you have to rely on their ability to see and perceive your value and your worth. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to add to that? I see you shaking your head.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, like, I think a lot of brands don't realize the impact that Black creators really have. Mm-hmm. Like, we have so much impact. I'm telling you, I've followed these women for so long as well. Like, any product, anything they put on, I'm always searching, buying whatever you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we don't get as much credit for the same things that our counterparts do. And we see it, whether how much we're being paid, whether like the opportunities we have. Even also, there'll be huge brand partnerships and there's so many people, but why am I the only Black person there? There can be more Black people. There's enough space for all of us. So it's very frustrating. And I think that having more Black creators, like, do this, speak up about the experience, how it is, always helps, because, yeah, the content does get hidden.
We have seen from all across the arts, from music to fashion, that the Black community shapes all of American culture. Yet,
we show up for each other.
Right. And so here you all are as cultural vanguards. If you watch your accounts, you are in many ways cultural vanguards, but you're not being valued that way.
Yeah, I would agree. I was saying something even that came to mind, like it's not even just about like selling products, is a brand will send you a brief and they'll say like, oh, we want you to do a certain trend. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, there was a Black creator that created this trend. Like, are they getting compensated also for this? Like, think about a lot of just the trending audios, the sounds, the lingo that we use, like it's coming from the Black community. And there's almost sometimes a disconnect between like how you're using a trend to sell a product, or you're using a trend to reach an audience, but you're not thinking about where that trend came from and how you can acknowledge that and honestly compensate them for that intellectual property, because that's what it is.
Dances, a lot. I don't remember like all the TikTok dances. A lot of them are created by Black creators.
But I've seen people break that down for you all to understand. So you often see Black folks innovating on a TikTok dance, then somebody not from our community copying that same dance and exploding as if they were the originators of that. Because the online content world, so much of it is seeing what's performing out there and taking it without citing your source, and then seeing your growth happen as a result of really on the back of somebody else's creativity, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doctor, did you want to add to that at all?
I've seen it. You're right. Like dance moves, you name it on TikTok, that this little Black girl, whoever may do, and then somebody else does it, and somehow it just blows up. And it's like, okay, how do you just bypass this, the originator? Who knows?
So let's come in. This is obviously the CBC weekend, extraordinary Congress people here. I know, Nia, you previously worked with the Biden-Harris administration, and Clark, you attended the DNC. What inspired you to use your platforms to step into a world that often can have backlash, the world of politics and policy on your accounts, and what has been the response? Have there been negativity from that, backlash from those kind of partnerships you've done with elected leaders who are stepping out on policy issues?
Yeah, well, when I started making content, I think I was going into my junior year of college, and I studied politics and American history in college, so that was always a part of my content. I've always been very politically outspoken, and so there was no way I was going to have a platform and not utilize it to speak out about the issues that were important to me. And then working during the DNC, I've never taken any money from any partisan organization or any campaign at all. I think that's like a misconception that was spread a lot during that time. I really cared very deeply about the election, as I feel like more people probably should have. And so I use my voice to talk about it. And yeah, I feel like there's a responsibility for me as a Black woman and someone who has always been very tapped into political issues to not waste the million people I have, like the eyes I have on me. And like you said, people are getting their news from their phone. Like Gen Z is probably not gonna sit down and watch Anderson Cooper every night or whoever else or Meet the Press. They might get on TikTok though and be like, oh, Clark's doing to get ready with me, like she's doing her makeup, and then, oh, now she's talking about this big policy issue, I didn't even know about this. And so I feel like as someone who can I think I do a pretty good job of seamlessly blending like my lifestyle content with actual like deeper issues and conveying it with levity or, where needed, and, trying to do things in a way that can bring audiences in without being too polarizing. I might be a little bit polarizing, I'm not sure. You guys might have to tell me that one.
Stand in your truth, man.
But I stand in my truth and I stand on business, and I think it's my duty.
Absolutely, I feel the same way. I feel like it's my duty. We were given these platforms, and what am I going to do with it? Use my voice, speak up for what's right, use it for good. So for me, I kind of started with voter advocacy, and I started with When We All Vote, Michelle Obama's organization, and then from there I kind of got into more political stuff, like working with the Biden-Harris administration, and it's been amazing. And let me just say, nothing that I post or promote, in my opinion, is radical or crazy. It is just basic human rights, genuinely, things that I believe in. So I have no problem speaking up about things that I genuinely care about. So yes, you're gonna get backlash. Yes, you're gonna have people that disagree with you, but at the same time, if you're not gonna do it, who is? And if you're given this huge platform, I feel happy with the stuff that I put out. I try to educate people, and along with educating people, I'm educating myself. And yeah, I think it's really beautiful that especially young people can get information from social media, because I know for the 2020 election, there was an immense turnout of young and first-time voters, which was huge. And it was really cool to be a small part in that, to help that. So to continue using our voices to uplift people and encourage people, I think it's always amazing, Well,
what's powerful to me is that you all are the new generation of artists, actors, athletes, these people that had their platforms, but still chose to use them not just for the art, but also for understanding, as we're seeing this attack on the arts happening now, also using them to advance the larger cause of the community and the country as well. But I am wondering, you guys have this, as I look at your platforms, this nobility, this strength about you, but I know that you all have gotten vicious comments, vicious takedowns. I just dragged my fiance, unfortunately, into the public eye by putting on my platform.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. Any fashion tips will be accepted.
Annie's your girl.
She's way cooler than me. I'm trying to keep up. But for her whole family, seeing that, on Instagram alone, it got 7 million views, and her family went down into the comments and just saw that there's a lot of meanness there as well. And that is assaults on your self-esteem. And I'm just wondering if you all have any thoughts about how you are attacked, whether you're in politics or not, or policy or not.
I think you have to have very tough skin, like incredibly tough skin, because it gets wild in the comments. I don't know, I've always been very sure of myself and the content I put out, and I'm very particular about how I show up in the world, how I treat other people. And so the noise is just that, it's noise. As long as I remember who I am and I know who my family knows me to be, the people around me, the comments about a 30-second TikTok or an Instagram photo, it means nothing. No one knows you the way that your people do, and as long as you, I feel like, hold on to that, I'm fine.
Yeah, as long as you stay true to yourself, genuinely, and again, you have your people, your support group. Of course, sometimes things will get to me, but not often, because I have pretty thick skin. And also, I try not to look through comments too much, because honestly, whatever people say about me sometimes is not my business.
And block.
Yeah.
Block button.
Yeah, number one, I always say, it's not normal to have access to so many opinions about myself. So that goes back to, I don't have to read a lot of the comments if they're negative. And I think most viral videos, it's really hard for a video to go viral fully off of positivity. It will be the sweetest, just a puppy or something running in a field, and somebody in the comments will have something negative to say. And so just acknowledging, it's not normal to have this many opinions about myself. So I need to recenter and focus back on the opinions that really matter to me. What does my family think about me? What do I know to be true about myself? Am I a good person? Am I really trying hard to be a good, kind, and generous person, despite what this person who has never met me in their life and doesn't have a profile picture and is user XY1234556, right? So just really focusing on what is most important about what I know to be true about myself has helped me a lot. But also, block people and honestly, to make it real, traditional. If you can't stand on it, if you wouldn't say this to me in person, I'm not really gonna really give it any value in my life as well. So. People hide a lot behind the internet, and they can stay hiding because, I don't know what to do about that. Yeah.
But I want to know what advice you would give to young black people or young black people of all ages who hope to be creators one day. Because I'm going to tell you, I went to go visit in Newark an urban farm that I had started back when I was mayor, an entire city block that was a farm, and I went there with a documentary team called Food Inc. They were doing Food Inc. too. And when I was there, I had an African-American woman come up to me and say, I used to have diabetes. I now started sourcing all of my food from this farm, and my doctor was shocked. My diabetes went away, and she was 80 years old, and she started an account and is now inspiring people through her story of wellness. And so people youth of all ages can have access to this, but people look at you all now to us are the trailblazing lights that are illuminating our skies. And I'm wondering what advice you might have for black folks who might want to do more of this themselves.
Well, first off, I'll ask one of the older people here. So I actually started in the content creation in my 30s. I said that to say that, don't think that it's only for the younger generation. So first of all, remove that idea out of your mind. You can start at any age. I've seen some pretty good pages where people are up there. I ain't gonna say numbers, but they're up there. So that's my first thing. A second thing is when you start, make sure that it's something that you have a passion for. There's some people who try to just follow whatever the trend or whatever the case may be, and it's easy to get burnt out that way. So with what I do, I'm very passionate about it. Like yes, I became a chemist, but I started off as a musician. I growing up in the church playing the drums and keyboard. So I'm back in music now and with my family, so it's really dope. But yeah, thanks. And be consistent. That's probably like my.
Be consistent in posting.
Yeah, be consistent in posting.
Post consistently, post often.
Yeah, because, if you don't, I know some people, their mindset is like, oh man, where are all those views? Our first year or two, probably my mom and a few family members were the only people watching Gracies.
I mean, that's powerful. A year or two.
Yeah.
It was like you were speaking to a ghost town.
It was like a flat line, like that first year.
And there's so much work that goes into those videos, so I can't
Yes.
even, to continue doing that, the fortitude you have.
Work, time, money, all that was going into it, and it was just this. So I'm lucky my wife didn't leave me because it was ugly. I'm so serious. It was bad. But now, yeah, it's insane where it's at now. But yeah,
That's great. Who's next?
I guess I can go. Like what you're saying, when you first start, you might not get return on your investment. You have to know that. But also to treat it like your job. Treat it like a career, like your business, because it is. It's your brand. So whenever you're posting, make sure that it's something you're good about, that in 5 years you might look at it and be like, oh, that probably wasn't the best thing to post. And of course, as we evolve, we all change, but make sure that you stay true to yourself, and it does get hard, so to develop a thick skin, like you were saying, but to keep going, because at some point it does break, it does happen, and you never know who's watching.
That's true. I think I would say don't be afraid to show all the parts of yourself. Like I think Eni as well sort of talked about this, but I was showing my life as like a student at Columbia, talking about like my legal classes and like political stuff, and then I would make videos about home decor, and then I would show like a cooking recipe, because I love all these things. We're all very multifaceted, and I think it can be really easy to try to put yourself in one box and only make certain types of videos or stick to one aesthetic. And I think that the success that I've had in being able to like go to the Olympics with NBC and be invited to the DNC and go on beauty trips and all types of things have just come from really showing every part of myself. And everyone has so many parts of yourselves. And so, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, just don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because the return can be really, really magical.
And do you find that when you put yourself out there, a part of that is making yourself a little more vulnerable by sharing things that invite people in and create community?
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, I think when you do open yourself up to a little bit more vulnerability, the community that's created is just fantastic. I've shared so many things that people have come to me like, oh my goodness, my father also went to prison, or oh my goodness, I also have like a missing side tooth. Like, you guys, it gets crazy on my TikTok. But I've had people come up to me and they're just like, you make me feel so much better about it, you make me feel so comfortable. And I'm like, you know what, girl? Yes, that's what I'm here for. So yeah, just the return and the community, I think, is what is so heartwarming and like kind of a once in a lifetime thing.
That's extraordinary. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with everything that's been said, and I'll say like you just have to do when it comes to content creation. I think there are a lot of people who are thinking about it, toying, like thinking, oh, I really want to get into it. Like, none of us became what we are now, like in one day, in one moment. Like, it was a series of every single day showing up in some way, shape, or form. And so I think, like, if you've been thinking about it, like, start today, start right now, start tomorrow. Like, at some point, you just have to take action and just do. And then also advice for like people who might have to get into content creation, not by choice, but by force, right? Like sometimes we spoke in the beginning about how like you have to reach people where they are, and maybe you're working in a position where you're not really feeling social media or content creation, but you need it to reach people. I think that's where outsourcing comes into play. And there are plenty of people who love social media and love content creation, and there's no problem in getting someone to, help ideate, help create the content, help edit the content so that your business or your community initiative or that, whatever that you're trying to get out there can actually get out there as well.
And some of you actually, I alluded to it, but some of you have built those teams of support around you, correct?
Yeah.
For a prime example for me, like they were talking about the comments and whatnot, which it can get ugly in the comment section. I hired a social media manager, so I don't, like, I'm the one who's like behind writing the songs and stuff, and if I, as a creator, am caught up in what they're saying, and it tampers with my creativity, so I just pass it on. But yeah, I have a social media manager that I hired. I built the animation studio in Nigeria.
Okay. Let me visit.
Yeah, love that.
So it really is like a full-blown business now.
A full-blown business, right? Right. Okay, so I'm gonna get down there and join some of the folks asking questions. I want you all to know that I started on social media back in 2009, and I started as a urgency for my own city, because Newark was disrespected, disregarded, and as my New York sister, just plain dissed. And I know you are, I'm just teasing you. But the reality was Conan O'Brien came on TV and made a late night a joke. He said, I hear Newark, New Jersey has a new healthcare program. And I was proud as a mayor, I was able to get my community discounts on prescription drugs. And I thought he was about to say something really nice to me. And I was about to call my mom and tell her she's in a different time zone, watch Conan. And instead he goes, well, I think the best healthcare program for the city of Newark is a bus ticket out of town. And it was on. It was on. So I actually opened my laptop and I said, how many viewers does Conan O'Brien have? And the Tonight Show is what he had about 2.53 million viewers a night. And I'm like, wait a minute, my Twitter feed has a pretty sizable audience. So I sat behind my desk in City Hall, recorded a video where I said, by the power vested in me by the people of the city of Newark, I hereby ban Conan O'Brien from Newark Airport. I said, you're on the no-fly list, try JFK, buddy. And the video went so viral that satellite trucks started coming to see if I was, did you really ban him? The TSA, no joke, put on their website a clarification that mayors in America can't put people on the no-fly list. And I started getting invited on all these traditional media shows, and then Conan plays my video on The Tonight Show, and then he bans me from, by the power vested in him, he said by his studio audience, banned me from Burbank Airport, which I was like, I fly LAX, that's okay. But it ended up becoming the #1 trending story in America. And for me, I started going on shows from Larry King to you name it, that I had never been invited before as a mayor of Newark, but every chance I used it to continue the joke, but to talk about how great our city was. By the time the whole controversy was over, Hillary Clinton got involved. She was Secretary of State then and in charge of like healing war-torn areas. So she's like, Cory, Conan, give peace a chance. I think I might have been one of the few mayors ever to be invited on The Tonight Show. Conan O'Brien apologized to me, to the city of Newark, and gave $500,000 to Newark charities, or somewhere around there. And it was amazing to me that suddenly I started getting developers and foundations and people interested in investing in our city that I couldn't get return phone calls from behind. So I have seen the power of building these platforms. I can't monetize my platform in the same way, but when I look to these creators, what we have on the stage, For me, they are inspiring me because even though like creators in the past on radio, creators that were actors, creators that were musicians, creators who began shows or began, Medea, entire studios because the traditional, largely white businesses didn't recognize their value. What they are on the vanguard of is an entire different world. And what they didn't say to you, what I'm confident of, is that their audiences are international. They are not just even in the American context. They're having an impact in the world. And I know this just from people I bump into the airport who don't know much about my politics, but they say they follow me on Instagram or TikTok because of the inspirational videos that I post. Because I want, like you said, to show the fullness of who I am on these platforms. I'm more than just the job I hold. So let's get to these questions. I'm so excited about them. And I'm going to go right. Who's at the microphone first? Okay, they're pushing you at the microphone.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There was a little confusion there.
Okay.
Great. First of all, thank you. I love everybody's voice up there, and I think that that's so important in content creation. And so for me, like, I'm that person that's like, oh, I should do this, and then a day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, a year goes by, 5 years go by, and so on and so forth. And so I'm curious, like, were you guys thinking about, like, when you first put out, and all of your experiences are so different, so it's amazing, but when you put out your video that went viral, was it like, oh, I have to make sure my hair is perfect, I have to make sure I sound this way, I look this way, cut, let's do it over? I just want to hear about that process. And then my second question is, at what point in the evolution did you like build a team? Your last statement kind of led into my original question, and it seems like you guys all have like a team. And I'm just curious, at what point did that start, and what does that evolution look like now, and what does your team look like now?
I think my first videos looked like they were filmed on an air fryer, so no, it was not very good. There were like gaps in my voiceover, so really, like Eni said, you just have to do it. My videos where my hair is looking crazy, I don't have any makeup on, are some of the ones that have the largest impact, that reach the most people, that have gained me the most followers, so it really is a matter of just doing.
And to the team question, I think I'm building my team around like, when is this too much for me to do on my own, right? Like, I have a management team that helps me negotiate deals and manage campaigns, and that was like, it was just too much for me to handle on my own. I was in my third year of law school, and I was like, I don't have enough time to do this. It's getting to be too much. Recently, hired an assistant because I was just like, I don't have enough hours in the day to create the content and to manage the emails and to look into finding a hairstylist in a new city. That like, it was just like, I don't have enough time. And the next step is like looking for an editor. I love creating the content, but I'm like, I'm weeks behind on content because I don't have enough time. So I think there's no timeline to it. It's just about like, what is your capacity and what is something that you feel like also you've mastered? Because I fully believe like, no matter what I outsource, like if this is my business, I need to have an understanding of how each and every part of my business works. So even if I'm outsourcing something, if that person has to leave tomorrow, is unavailable, like, can I do this on my own? Absolutely, great. So that's what I would say my relationship is with building my team at this point in time.
Wow, that's great. Anybody else want to comment on that? Because you're extraordinary business people too. I don't think I'm saying that as enough. You're content creators, but you're in more ways than other creators of old who were an actor that would show up at a studio. You really are running businesses, right? And just help us out, because somebody out here is thinking, I think I'm fabulous. I think I have something to say. When does that first endorsement deal happen? When does that first paycheck come in? Like, give them some hope. Like, how does that? I mean, this brother makes me feel 2 years of doing it. But is there a moment that you know that I can, if I could only get 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers or get a video that has 1 million views? What is it that breaks through if you're doing this?
I don't know. I think you just have to. I saw something and someone was like, you know, if someone told you that if you bought like a lottery ticket every day or something, that like eventually you would hit the lottery and you would like win the jackpot, would you just like buy a ticket every day? And I'm like, yes, of course. I think it's the same with creating content. I mean, my very first video went viral, and 2 weeks later I got my first brand deal and I signed to a management agency 6 months later. It can be different for everyone, but really just you never know what video it's gonna be, so you just have to, like, the consistency is very important, and then one day you just hit the jackpot.
Yeah, we're all getting paid because we impact decision making in some way. And so I think the moment that you like realize and can have proof or evidence of how you are impacting decision making, I think like that's a great opportunity to then like be compensated for it.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to teams as well, it takes a long time to build a team that you really trust. It's taken me years, and I finally am at a place where I absolutely love my team. We all have the same vision, but it takes time also to find and create a team that really does support you.
Same, I would echo that too, because it was multiple things for me. One, it was the financial piece. Like I told you, it took 1 or 2 years to even become monetized. So that meant I had to do everything, from social media to the music, the songs, everything. I did everything except for the animation. I can't do that. But the beauty of that is, because of the fact that I was doing all those things, now that I have people in those different positions, I can actually have a conversation. I can tell them, that versus you just being completely clueless is harder to have that line of communication where you can convey exactly what you want or how things should be. So having that definitely helped. But yes, as soon as the financial piece got to where I could start to delegate more, and you don't have to feel like, oh man, I got to build out my team, right? Like, don't feel rushed. You can bring on one person at a time, whatever that area is that you may, like Eni was saying, like she recognized, like, okay, I need an assistant. Like, if I don't have that, then I can't create the other aspects that makes everything else run. So yeah.
And can I just say something else, a little bit of an aside, but still I think on point. You have an animation team in Nigeria. When I was in Nigeria, I was blown away by seeing people that were these extraordinary artists, and you're making that connection. Do you have a Nigerian audience too, would you say?
Yeah, and our audience is like truly worldwide. Like, honestly.
Gracie is great, yeah, hey.
Yeah, and honestly, the way that really kind of triggered, so yes, we're on YouTube, but my advice is take advantage of all of the different platforms, because I think our first viral moment happened on TikTok with the Phonics song. What sound does that letter make? Yeah. That song, yeah. That song went crazy.
Do you want to add to that? Because do you have a Nigerian following, I wonder?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you have me as a Nigerian following too. So, yeah. You were like, does he have a Nigerian? I was like, you got me at the very least. So, yeah. No, that's.
So Nigeria is the country with the third most black people on the planet Earth. Brazil and the United States is that. I just want to say something, though. The continent of Africa, by 2050, 1 out of every 4 human beings on the planet will live on that continent, and 1 out of every 3 working people will live on that continent, because we're an aging nation, so is China and others. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this idea here in America that black people are the minority is actually on a global standpoint. So even if your doors are being shut to you as a black person by certain brands, know where the continent, where humanity is going. And American companies, when I'm over in Africa, I see this. The American companies are understanding this is a massive growing market. So in many ways, I just want to make that point. We have the last question. That's a lot of pressure on you. Can you handle the pressure?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Give us your question.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bell. I currently work at the largest voter advocacy nonprofit here in DC, but it's national nonprofit.
Here in the state of DC, I just want to say it, manifesting here. Manifesting the future, perhaps.
Hashtag free DC.
Yeah.
I also follow you 3 on social media.
When you say you 3, there's 4 people up there.
Oh.
Who are you excluding?
Sorry, I don't have children, and I'm not really around children, so. But my question is, as a content creator, how do you balance your real work life with your, well, I guess this no longer applies to you at the moment.
But it did at one time.
But before, I guess, how would you balance your real work-life balance with your online presence? For example, my job sponsored me to come to this conference, but But in reality, I have my own nonprofit I'm working on and other creative projects. So, Emmy, I know you've experienced this kind of tension in your career, but yeah, how did you navigate?
For one, I had boundaries. And I say this with, I could go on, I could say a lot because the long story is essentially like even with those boundaries, I was still put in a position where like what I was doing online wasn't viewed favorable. Mind you, if you want to judge me based off of here, like I'm sure you can guess what my content was, which was very just like not problematic at all, but I still had boundaries because I understood how traditional the environment that I was working in was, and that they wouldn't necessarily love a girl spending her weekends talking about what like designer she wanted, what her favorite designers were, what lip gloss she was wearing, or what she spent her weekends doing. So in this like I've never shared where I worked, right? People knew where I went to law school because that was a part of just sharing my journey, but I never shared where I worked. I would never film in the office. I would never do I wasn't about bringing my content to work or making my work my content. It was about being a representation of what it looks like to be a Black woman working in law. And so before work, I would do I could film my content. After work, I could film my content. And on the weekends, I could film my content. But I was very clear about the distinction between work and the things that I did outside of work. And I think, for better or for worse, that's just the world that we are living in right now. And I think it is important to have some boundaries as well. I think you also have to assess, you have to analyze, you have to really assess what type of place am I working at and how much, not can I get away with, but what is allowed here, what is frowned upon here. So I think you really have to have an awareness as soon as you get to wherever you're working as to what you do personally in your personal life might be viewed. Do I think, people should police how you spend time outside of work? Absolutely not, but sometimes it is a reality. And so I just had very clear boundaries about what I would do and when, right? When it was my time and when I could work on my content versus when I had to have my full attention and devotion on what my job was in the workplace.
Yeah, I think if I can just add one more thing too, when I was at David Yurman, I was vlogging day in the life, and I remember actually having a meeting with their head of marketing because my videos became a thing. So even if you sit down and have a conversation and maybe you have your own nonprofit and you're creating content around that, they want to partner together, there's an opportunity for you to leverage your connections there. So, definitely assessing and figuring out, is this even something I should bring up? And then if you think it is, finding the people you should talk to, and you never know where that could take you.
This is how I want to wrap up. I am a person of faith. I always say before you tell me about your religion, first show it to me in how you treat other people. Yeah. And I've met some of the most soulful people I know are atheists, but I am a man of faith. So I will say this. I believe we were created in the image of God. Yeah. If God is the ultimate creator, he imbued us with the power to create. We are all creators. I had to tell my team of senators, other 46 senators, they are creators. And to use these platforms as an opportunity to express your most authentic light to this world. There are people that want the stories inside of you. Every one of you is struggling, and one of the things that folks try to do, the world tries to do to you, is make you think you are alone. When these incredible creators tell stories, they connect, they open community, they create community, they show that we have a shared humanity. There is a tsunami coming to humanity. It is called technology. It is communications changes, AI, quantum computing, robotics. I could go on and on and on. What is powerful about this panel to me is they are ahead of the wave. And in many ways, I hope, inspiring you that we tell our stories, even though they try to silence us. That we tell our stories of being weary and our woe, but also our joy and our happiness. That we tell our stories and define ourselves after centuries of people trying to define us. There is an economy out there. There is opportunity out there. We need more light workers in this dark world, not just for the Black community, because we are all tied in an inescapable network of mutuality, as King said. The world needs our creation. The world needs our light. The world needs to hear our stories, because I believe that's how we create, as John Lewis so dreamed of, That's how we create a more beloved community. Thank you, everybody.